What's happening, YouTube? So, this is a 2018 Honda Pilot on 11/14/22. We did brakes and rotors all the way around, and a customer opted for the 1-year warranty pads, which is our economy or entry-level brake pad, most affordable, not our best. Full synthetic oil change for $60, which is a deal, and 4 Goodyear tires at $720, which is another deal. So now we're 10 months later and 11,000 miles, and he calls yesterday and says he's having issues with the brake job, and it's too soon for us to be too soon for him to be having issues with his brake job. So I took the car apart, made sure the sliders all move, and they do. And you can see the pad wear here, okay? And you see some clunking and chunking there, right? And the pistons weren't seized. And then here's the brake pads that came off the other side. So you got about 50% pad wear there and metal to metal. So I'm not really sure what to make of this exactly, because he's grinding on the right front. Well, I know what to make of it. We got an aggressive driver with a caliper problem. Sliders are all good. None of the hardware was stuck. So what happens when you're an aggressive driver is you can actually start to see heat transfer spots in the rotor. That's all these little dark spots. So he's not an animal, but whoever's driving this is a bit aggressive, obviously on braking and not so much acceleration. And there's so many different driving habits. And then we go to the back brakes and take a look at that, and they're like brand new. I mean, let's get in there and get some light for you. There's the friction material. Like brand new front and rear. So brand new, still fresh, smoked in the front. Also, what I noticed, he had a nail in a tire, and he hasn't had it rotating and balanced in 10 months and 11,000 miles worth of driving. So is this guy maintaining this car? No. He's going to a quick lube for an oil change. They're not recommending a rotate and balance. He definitely needs an alignment. You can see the tire wear at 11,000 miles. But he's had my oil change. I would hope he had another one and say 3. So 3 oil changes, well, 2 oil changes, you would hope, that he was at another service center and they didn't even peek at his brake pads. And I assure you the master cylinder is low, advising the service guy who's working on it to alert the customer that, hey, you need your brakes checked. Or let me just do a quick visual and say, hey, dude, do you know that your brake pads are just about metal to metal? So grinding didn't happen today. This has been grinding, and actually it's been on a wear sensor longer than that. So there's the wear sensor, and you can see that the wear sensor's screaming away. So when you pull in to get your oil change, hey, can you guys take a quick look at my brakes while you're under there? I mean, it's pretty easy. You can just look through the back side of the wheel and say, yeah, the pads are sucked in. So on top of the customer being a bit aggressive, not buying the better products, and going to a quick lube, which those guys have minimal skill in my opinion. And don't take it personal, guys, because you should be looking at your customer's car while they're there, even if you do the work or you don't do the work, and say, hey, your brake fluid's low. Hey, you have a nail on your tire. Hey, your brake pads are low. Hey, your front end's clunking and banging. Advise these people what's going on. It's safety issues. I mean, they could pull into your place for an oil change and drive down the street and my brakes are grinding now. Well, why didn't you say something to me while we're there? Well, that's not part of our job. Part of your job is advising your customers what's wrong with their car. Be it a quick lube, a used tire center, whatever it is. You're pulling the wheel off, take a look. You're not doing that customer any justice. He thinks you are, but you're not. If you don't tell them there's anything wrong with your car, guess what? He thinks his car is perfect. And when it's not. So, his issues with his brake job is multiplied by aggressive driving. Oh, and also I wanted to say is, when you're an aggressive driver, the brake pads only have a certain amount of room in here to move around, okay? Some are very tight, but they should just definitely move. When this brake pad gets overheated, the friction material swells, and so does this metal backing plate, and will cause the brake pad to stick. So if you're on the brakes a lot, the brake pads are swelled and heated up, Same with the casting. The casting expands at a different rate. The stainless steel expands at a different rate. The friction and the brake pad and the shim, it's all expanding at different rates. But this will actually expand, okay? And if the brake pad's really hot and the bridge isn't, this is gonna get stuck in the board. So when you release the brake and this brake pad's still really hot, it's stuck. It's dragging on the brakes. It's dragging on the rotor. Not enough to stop the car, but enough to continue to keep the temperature up in that brake pad. And then when you hit it again, it starts chalking the brake pad. And that was a sign there. All right, coming apart. And you can start seeing it in here too. It keeps the brake pad hot where your stopping power is reduced. And then your brakes dust super heavy too. So I don't know how often he washes his wheels. But just some explanation. If you're on the brakes all the time, that's not a good thing. Meaning you're on the brakes because you're an aggressive driver. You're riding everyone's ass. You're changing lanes without turn signals. You're 0 to 70 in 2 seconds versus 0 to 70 in 7 seconds or 10 seconds. And then you're riding people's ass. You're brake tapping. You're riding the brakes. That's the kind of guy. Or you're soccer mom or soccer dad or soccer teenager with a driver's license, and you're late for the gym, you're late for band, you're late for your date, you're late for soccer practice. You know what I'm talking about. Thanks for watching.